So here we have Marcelo and Jon training again. Just from collar sleeve grips, Marcelo steps around Jon's guard to knee on stomach, and he's using that collar sleeve control to try to drive Jon's shoulders flat. Jon is able to turn and try to get connected with the hooks, and Marcelo steps around again, and he's just trying to arm between the legs, keep Jon's hip from turning over. And you can see how flat he keeps his body. So his body's very integrated and heavy and hard to lift, hard to hinge or break at the hip. And right here, Jon is able to dig in with his heel and capture one of Marcelo's legs. But as Marcelo's leg got captured, he won upper body control with an underhook and overhook. So this is the passing configuration that he favors for half guard, although typically he would be passing towards his right with the left arm as the underhook. That's different than the way most people do who are right arm dominant. And the reason being is that Marcelo feels that the overhook is the more important arm in this pass than the underhook that we typically think of being the dominant side. So you see here Marcelo is just trying to keep his hip flat, get his hip offline from Jon's to keep the weight of his hip over the floor, and using his chest to project over that arm. There, he's trying to find that position again. When he was floating, he was trying to kind of rearrange that situation here. So now Jon has started to pummel the underhook inside, but Marcelo has a belt grip. So we're just going to look at that grip really fast because that's an important variation that we use for upper body control from half guard passing. So in lieu of the overhook, okay, when Jon's arm hides to the inside, Marcelo, let me just slow this down here. Marcelo's pressing down with his chest and anchoring that space closed with that belt grip right there. Okay. Now he's gone to an overhook on the far side, and I think he's also looking for the belt on that side to just really keep him connected. And he's, as Jon's dragging Marcelo's hip over his hip, Marcelo's going with it to give himself some more mobility, I think, to allow this leg to circle clear of the lockdown. Okay, Jon tries to whip Marcelo back. He's trying to manipulate Marcelo's hip via that lockdown control on the leg. Marcelo back steps to release some of the pressure, and he's just, again, trying to hide his hip essentially from Jon. The dominant control here being the right arm overhook. So Marcelo has switched sides of his dominant control in there, and he has now the right arm underhook. So even though he has the wrong leg, or it's not the wrong leg, but the opposite leg as he normally would being controlled in the half guard, he's switched back to his dominant side for that control, sagging his hip, away and down towards the mat here to try to keep his hip offline from Jon's hip. And he's using his free leg just to work his knee line free there on the trapped leg. And again, it's just very dominant underhook and overhook control, and just letting his weight do a lot of the work by keeping his hip kind of always in the right place where he's not going to be sweepable, and the weight of his hip can sag and help free his entrapped leg. So he was not able to free his knee with that exchange, so he's switching back now to kind of connected to a turning pass. You see Jon has the underhook, so Marcelo's posting over the arm and just monitoring that underhook, keeping it glued high to his body. And when looking for a reaction that he found to win a reverse underhook there to dominate that space. I think he has that reverse underhook. No, he doesn't. So he hunted for the reverse underhook. He wasn't able to get it. Jon kept the inside arm position, and so Marcelo's opted to go over the shoulder and find some connection there. Still very heavy with the hip, sagging his hip away from Jon. You see he's dominating the bottom leg here, so Jon will be unable to surface. Really interesting, really high-level passing sequence here. So he's using all the principles of the, I don't want to say basic, but the half guard passes in his repertoire, but he's really having to remix it and adapt to the situation here that, Jon's, that look that Jon's giving him here. Now Marcelo went to a north-south choke control. So this is a control, so you can see right there. And I think time just ended. So it would have been interesting to see what happened were that roll to continue. But essentially when this space here, when the armpit, when the underhook isn't available, with the regular underhook, we'll go to the reverse underhook. When that is not available, the reverse underhook, then we'll typically go over the arm. When we go over the arm, it's over at the elbow or over at the shoulder. We don't want to be stuck in the middle of the road in here. So Marcelo's gone over at the shoulder, and I think he's looking for a distracted moment when Jon goes a little flatter, looks up, boom, and he wraps the neck. So this is not always intended to lead towards the submission, although gladly accept it if it does. But passing the guard from the north-south choke position is really near the top of the hierarchy of upper body control, if not the very top, because you can see how trapped Jon's head is. Essentially everything below his head and neck has been immobilized by that control. So, if time went on, I think it would have just been a matter of time before Marcelo ended up with the pass.